Class is now in session. I am Professor Hockey, and today we're discussing some San Jose Sharks news, and that is that they have signed defensive prospect Henry Thrun to an entry-level deal for just 2 years. Now, this is an interesting deal for a couple of reasons. The first one, of course, is the details surrounding this particular player. As for those who might not remember, it was just a few weeks ago near the trade deadline where the San Jose Sharks traded a third-round pick to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for Henry Thrun. Now, what made this pretty interesting was that Henry Thrun was a college player, or I guess I should say is a college player, which means he had the right to wait until August 15th of this upcoming offseason, where he would then become an unrestricted free agent and have the liberty of signing with whichever team that he wanted. And he made that very much clear to the team that drafted him, the Anaheim Ducks, and told them pretty much outright that he would not be signing with them. And so at that point, the Ducks needed to find a potential suitor or just lose him for nothing. And so the Sharks acquiring him for a third-round pick was risky because he still had that very same liberty to do that walk to unrestricted free agency with San Jose. And so Greer was making a bet that he would be able to lock this player down prior to that date arriving, and he managed to do so very, very quickly. It's only been a couple of days since Thrun's college season ended, and he is immediately signed to this deal. The other interesting part of it is that, like I mentioned, it was just a 2-year deal. Usually you'll see younger players sign 3-year standard entry-level contracts, but Thrun only gets the 2 years, and on top of that, it's made even more interesting by the fact that the first year of those 2 years is getting burnt this season no matter what. You could have him not play any games, and yet he would still only have 1 year remaining by the end of this season, meaning it is a guarantee that the Sharks need to give him a new contract by the end of next season, by the end of 23-24. So it's pretty clear that Henry Thrun in this situation had a lot of leverage to give himself a favorable type of contract. But you could say that this might end up burning him a bit, because it's going to end up being, besides maybe the few games that he will end up playing this season, it's going to end up being just a single year, his first year, his rookie year in the NHL, to determine what his next contract would be. It's not necessarily a lot of time to have that big breakout season and actually get yourself a lucrative deal. So we'll see how this move actually ends up working out for this particular player. Now, the major question is, how does he fit into the San Jose Sharks roster at this point? Well, like I said, it is quite likely he ends up playing games for the San Jose Sharks prior to the end of this season. I don't think that really is all that much of a question. I'm sure that that was probably like an under the table deal type of situation in this contract signing, that he would be given an opportunity, he would be given a look in these last few games, and honestly it would be quite silly to not be giving him a look even without this type of under the table deal. But the big question is how he fits into the San Jose Sharks roster going into the next season, because the fact is that the Sharks just played a game against the Calgary Flames, and with the 6 defensemen they drafted, all 6 of them are still under contract come next season. So there's going to be a bit of a logjam, especially once you consider also Mukhamadullin could definitely be a part of the San Jose Sharks. There's Knyzhov, who wasn't playing in this game, but he definitely could still be there, though he technically isn't under contract for next season. And then even those like outside chances with a player like Artemi Kniazev, you never know, he could make a potential run for it. So it is difficult to imagine how much room exactly there will be if we assume no trades actually occur. Because if I take a look at the 6 defensemen that actually started this game for the against the Calgary Flames here tonight, I don't see in any universe where Karlsson gets benched, obviously. The same thing could be said by Marc-Edouard Vlasic. I don't see any world where Ferraro gets benched, just even though he probably deserves it at times. He is still a player who David Quinn absolutely loves, and I don't expect Matt Benning to get benched either. So realistically, you're left with just a couple of spots for multiple defensemen: Shemek, McDonald, Knyzhov, Thrun, Mukhamadullin, a lot of potential options here. Now, like I said, I imagine Thrun will be given that opportunity immediately, not just prove yourself in training camp, but actually like here, get some time at the NHL level in the regular season to see what you can do. But will he be able to retain a spot in the lineup consistently consistently over the next season? That is definitely the big question mark. But at the very least, it was not a third-round pick lost for absolutely nothing, and it is just going to show the refueling of the defensive prospect cupboard that Mike Grier has so heavily focused on thus far this season. Class dismissed.